Welcome back to Lily's Crafty Corner. Today is video number 2 on crafting with Lily. And my first one was making the collage, and I didn't quite finish them off. I had started them and had them pretty much done. However, oh, this one's upside down. However, the first one we did was on the manila envelope for tags. And the only thing I really did with this one is I added this little piece here, and then I added a sticker here, and we're going to cut these up in a moment. The next thing we did was this one with the music sheet that I had put on coffee dyed copy paper. And as you can see, there's these lovely little ridges from the table that's outside on my deck when it was drying. And I took and used a sheet music to cover the paper. And then what I did was, while I was doing this, I was kind of, here, we'll just do it from this side. I was setting it up according to the what do you call it? The measurements on my mat here, on my crafting mat. Let me just see if I can pick this up and get this up so you can see it a little better, and then I'll bring it back down. For the measurements, so that I could kind of stay at 4 1/4, because it's 8.5 by 11, and then I wanted to be able to cut these around 5.5, so that we can have these for journaling cards or anything else you want to use them for. The reason that's why I have this here, so people can journal on the side when you put these in your what do I want to call it, journals or your mini albums. So that one. Now the other one was the third one that I did is the one that I made by putting 2 papers together from a catalog that we received in the mail. And I was journaling on did the collaging. And what we're going to do with this one eventually, it's going to be a cover for a journal. However, we have to do a couple of things with this first. So what I thought was, what I would like to do, being that we have to, the intent is to, I want to take, for the inside, I want to take a napkin and I want to decoupage that on here. But as you can see, with the backing off of the napkin, the layers, that you're going to see through it. I don't know if you can, I'm sure you can see that it'll come through, and I don't want to see those things there. So what I decided was that we're going to, in order to do this in this session, I thought it'd be smart to do this first, and then, oh, I wiggled that, I'm sorry. Do this first and get it ready so that we can, I'm gonna adjust my camera a little bit. No, there we go, maybe that's a little better. Okay, so I adjusted that. So what I wanna do is take and I want to paint. Now you could gesso this if you have gesso, if you prefer. I have gesso, but I don't see the need to gesso it. What I'm going to do is just paint it. Put a layer of paint on it. And I want to put it thin because what I wanted to do is I want it to dry quickly, so that when it's dry, I can put my napkin on it and decoupage it onto that. This way, by doing this, as you can see, it's not covering quite, because I think what happened was I always wet my brush first. And in doing that, it kind of thinned the paint out, but that's okay. And the reason I like to use, I think I mentioned it, the reason I like to use the magazine or the catalog is that, first of all, they're pretty much 8.5 by 11, maybe not quite, but it doesn't matter. But they make whatever size they are, we'll check it out once it's dry. And these don't take long to dry. It's a thin layer, and it'll probably dry pretty quick. The main thing that I wanted to get across is to cover up some of the photos and things. Though when and the other thing is I just use this Delta Cream Coat. I think this comes either from AC, I think it's AC Moore we get this one from. And the little paint palette thing that I'm using, just that honestly and truly, that came from the dollar store. I believe they were, no, I got that at AC Moore. I think for $2.99 or, yeah, $1.99, something like that. I got 3, because actually I have smaller ones that I got from the dollar store. So I just want to cover up, and actually you'd be surprised, this is drying quite quickly. So what I'm going to do is just get a couple of the, I don't mind so much the words as I do the photos. Okay, so now I just want to put this off to the side, and we're going to let this dry. Here, I'm just going to stick that up here, let that dry. Actually, I'm just going to leave this over here, and so that it keep hitting the camera, and I'm really sorry. I don't really have enough room. Hopefully when I get back from my trip, which I mentioned in the original video, the first one I did, I'm going to Italy for a week, or actually 8 days, I guess it is. But I'll be there, or 9 days, but I'll actually be in Italy for 7. Having fun. But I just want to clean this up. And the other thing that I tend to use when I'm doing this stuff is, believe it or not, the hand cleaner, because there's alcohol in it. These things really do help to clean up your things as you go along. And as you can, the only thing that I have to do is I have to get this running under some nice hot water and do a job in getting the, what do you call it? Getting all the glue and things off. There. And then what I'm going to do is, so that my brush doesn't get hard, I would use these, but I'm going to wipe this up, and then I'm going to just wrap it here, so that when I use the decoupage medium, the Mod Podge, I have another brush, so I don't have to worry about cleaning that. So now we're going to get this out of the way. Now what I'm going to do is take my trimmer, and while that's drying, we're going to work on getting the, I'm going to work on getting my, what did I want to call it? Either the journaling cards, tags, whatever you want to refer to them as. And what I really would like to do is, I believe this thing lines up here at just, yeah, 8.5. So I'm going to take and get it at, here's 4.5. So we're going to come here to 4.25. And I'm going to get that up there and right here. And then we're going to cut it. And as you can see, when I was trying to measure it on the mat, to just, or not really measure it to keep it exact, but try to be close, then I'm going to cut this at 5.5. And I think it's going to work fine. Now, what's nice, if you decide that you want it to use these as a, you know, a layer for your cards, you can do that. Now, doesn't look like this is quite straight, so I just want to check it. I guess it's all right. Now, what I did was, while I did off camera, I added some more of the paper that was, I had just put these pieces on. In fact, when I was doing, I had only put here, I had done this strip and put here. And I decided to do the rest off camera because I think I had mentioned I was trying to keep these around 35 to 40 minutes. Well, when I checked when I was finished, it was like 58 minutes. So I really don't want to keep them that long. make them that long. So as you can see, I added a letter, I inked around it, and then I took some of the images I took offline that were in public domain, and I fussy cut it around that and put that next to it. And on this one, I took one of the cards from the authentic papers, and one of the little cut aparts, and then I just fussy cut it around her. On these, I did the same thing. These two pieces are from the public, that were from public domain that I had printed off the internet, and I kind of fussy cut it a little bit. This is another cut apart from one of the authentic papers. This was actually from the Carousel's paper pad. So again, we're just going to right now just cut this to be the, what did we say, 5.5. And then we have the 2. Now, these can be used in your journals as journaling cards to put in a pocket. A lot of times when you're also making your journals, you also sometimes will make the belly bands, or you'll make a tuck paper. In other words, here, let me just take this one just to show you. A lot of times you'll take the page, you have your paper folded, your piece for your journal or for your album, and you have it this way. And the page that you're going to use, sometimes you just fold it over like this and just tack it down at the top and the bottom, and then you burnish this, and then you have your a tuck spot here. Well, we don't have to do that on these, but if you have your albums and you have a tuck spot where you want to do it. Now, you have choices. You can take and you can just leave it the way it is. You can ink, and that's what I'm going to do now. Because for these, I want to use in my journals to journal on, put the cards in, like when especially in my albums is more for that, so that you can write about the pictures that you have on that particular page or in that area, tucked in an envelope or however you do it. And you can write on the back and talk, about what you're doing. Now, the other thing is what I'm going to get, which I meant to bring over and I didn't, was my corner rounder. I have the crocodile. I always want to call it crocodile, but it's crocodile. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take on the 1/2-inch side, and because actually I think I mentioned I have several albums to be making for friends that are going to be traveling. I did one already for my grandson's girlfriend, who's a senior along with him in high school this year. So I made one for her senior year, and she loved it. And I want to make my granddaughter another journal that she's going to be putting photos in that are, she used to work for Bare Minerals, and now she's doing something different. But on the side, she has people have her, do the wedding party, the makeup, and they pay her to do that. So I thought it'd be fun to have a journal or an album where she can take all her photos and have some fun with those, and then have like journaling cards and so forth. But she can take pictures of the wedding party to show people what she did in applying the makeup. So she has fun doing that. Now we're going to take, and it's a little extra from her regular job. Now we're going to take and ink these up with Tim Holtz's Distress Oxide ink. This happens to be the walnut. I usually use the vintage photo, and I like the archival, I believe it's Ranger Archival. that they do the coffee bean. I kind of like that one too to use. Sometimes I go back and forth. For the most part, they look pretty much the same, but there are subtle differences. And usually it's whatever I find. This is fun. I love this, getting these things done. I like what I like to do, and I'm sure you guys like to do it too. Right now, because I'm going away, I'm not participating in any swaps. I love to do swaps. I do have a couple of groups on Facebook that I swap with, but I've sent out all my swaps, and right now, when I return back home, then I'll think about doing a couple of swaps. But you know, most of the stuff would become due the week that I leave. And because I've had so many other things to do, I said, you know, I still want to craft, but I don't want to feel under the gun. And I want, because I always like, you know, my philosophy is when you do your crafting, that you're going to, especially swapping, or even when you're making things for friends, you know, we always want to do what we want to make something that we would be happy to have somebody give us. So, you know, I didn't want to feel pressured, because this is fun. This is my happy place. This is my reward for doing my chores, as they say. Growing up, my mom and dad, you know, my mom worked, and back in the late 50s and into the 60s. And so we always had chores and things that we had to do, the four of us, to help my mom, so that on the weekend she didn't have to spend her days off, you know, not having fun. And which, if she didn't have fun, then we didn't have fun. So she needed some time to rest and so forth. So we kind of had to do things. I did a lot of the ironing for the family when people ironed. And then I didn't do the back ends of these, but that's okay. I'm just going to do a little bit extra on the back. But isn't that fun? I think that is so great. And I'm just going to go on the back. Now, what I'm going to do, and I'll show you in the next video that for the crafting with Lillie, because again, I'm going to try and get this done, what I'm going to do today, in about a half an hour. Because of where my sewing machine is set up, and for me to set the camera up where it is, it's not really going to work well. So what I will be doing, and I'll show you when the third video, what I'll be doing is I'll be stitching right around the edges. And that's why I like these when they're not too thick, because it's just easier to sew. You know, when you're using fabric, the bottom plate has those little feet that kind of help the bottom edge, on the bottom plate, where the little section where they move. Well, when you're doing the paper, fabric moves, these don't. So you have to push these along, and you just don't want them to be too thick. So what I really like about this is I think they look really cute, and these are going to be nice journaling cards to put in somebody's album. So here's 4 that I have ready to put in my my stash of things that I'm doing. And I have 2 things right now set up of, you know, things that I'm crafting that aren't what do you call it, that aren't really earmarked for any one thing. But it's kind of nice that when you want to do an album or whatever project that you have, that if, again, if these things are what you work in. Now this is almost dry. I probably should have brought out my heat tool to make it work a little faster, but you know what? I'm not worried about that because I'm going to put Mod Podge on top of that and then put the napkin on it. So I'm going to give it a few more minutes. And what we're going to do with this one's going to be tags. This is going to be fun. Because what I'm going to do with this is this measures pretty much this piece here, which is the manila folder, that actually measures almost 12, like 11 3/4 by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, almost 8 3/4. So 11 3/4. What I'm going to do is to make this so I don't want them to be too wide. Let me just see what 3 gives me, and then the last one will be whatever it is. So this one we're going to do right here at 3. Oh, I banged that. Got excited, huh? Let's see if that... Nope, it didn't quite. So I'm just going to put it back on the 3, hold it down, do that nice and gentle, and go there. I didn't quite get it. There we are. Oh, I shook the table again. I see what... Let me just back up the camera a tad so it isn't quite affected now. I see I have to just adjust. Bear with me. We're going to adjust. Oh, don't want to make anybody sick. How does that? That's okay. That'll work, I think. I guess that's okay. So now we're going to take it back again to 3. Yeah, let me move that out of the way. We're going to take that back to 3. Here we are. Back to 3. Yeah, now I'm not shaking the table. And we'll just get that to come. Sometimes when it gets thick like this, and I might need to change the wheel on this because I've had this, oh gosh, over a year and haven't changed the blade in it. There we go. So now this piece here ends up being a little bit smaller, but you can do a tag and a little more than 2.5, which is fine. So these are 3. And then I think what we're going to make them, these were 8 3/4. So if I make them, what, 4? And, well, let me just see. We're going to do 4. And that's 1/4. So let's just bring this to the edge of the white. And that should make a decent sized tag. May not be quite right, but let's see. Guess what? It's only off a hair. Look at that. So it doesn't really matter. And these are nice tag size for gift tags. Don't you think? They don't have to be too big. And what we're going to do is we're going to crop. I'm going to show you how I'm going to cut these, okay? So we have those 2. And then I'm going to do, what did we say? I forgot what that was. Oh, here. Right up on the edge there. That kind of worked out. I knew it was going to not quite be right, but close enough. Right? The same thing with this one. It's not exact. I mean, I'm not, again, it's not brain surgery, and they don't have to be exact. Now this is a nice piece too, in that if you wanted to do bookmarks, I could let me see what I have here. These would make some cool bookmarks, so let's see. Now I'd want them a little bit wider than that. That's okay. This is good for a tag. Yeah, 2 to 2 1/4 makes the best bookmarks, I think. Anyway, that's my opinion, whether it's right, wrong, or indifferent. So some of these, like this one here, we might want to trim off a little bit extra just to make it look a little neater. There we go. And just take off that little tad there. Oh, I hate when it moves. Okay, where did that go? It's here somewhere there. It's just a tad. Okay, so I have this one ready to go. We have one there ready to go. And then this one is okay. I don't think I need to touch that one. This one here is the top edge. You want to get that. It is relaxing. I don't know about you guys, but I'm one of these women who has a terrible time sleeping. And I don't know if working nights I did it for 10 years straight. And then I did it, the last few years I worked, the last 6 I worked at Mount Kisco Medical Group, which is now Caremount in Westchester. But before I started there, the last few years before that, I was working nights, but I was also working, I would fluctuate. In other words, if that week was more convenient due to things that I wanted to do, whether it was watching grandchildren or whatever, I would either work nights, evenings, or days. And I could go, working nights and then go back the next day 3 to 11 and then go work the following 11 to 7 or 7 to 3, whatever. So, yeah, I abused my sleeping patterns. So I'm paying for it now. So there's times I do get up like 3, 4 o'clock in the morning and I'll start crafting because I'm wide awake, can't sleep. And you know, what are you gonna do, right? You just go with the flow. Because I'll tell you the truth, it's worse trying to sleep when you can't. So sometimes I just end up crafting for a couple hours and go from there. So what's nice about these tags, which I didn't bring them out because I don't want to put the to and from on the back yet, because again, I might use them for something else. So what we're going to do here is I'm going to use my lovely Crocodile, and I will tell you it's better to put something in here that's thicker. And I didn't quite finish the journaling tags either because I did have some things I wanted to add to them, but I didn't do it mainly because I wanted to do that while the Mod Podge is drying, because I wanted to give the paint a little bit longer time to dry. So I thought, let me round all these tags. Now, some people will corner the tags, slice them kind of like this. I like to round them and then I'll put the holes in. Now I do have a crocodile piece there, the one that, or the whatever you want to call it, the one with the hole punch and sets the eyelets. But honestly, when I am only doing things that aren't too thick or are one at a time, I'd rather use my Dollar Tree punch. I don't know why. I like the hole it makes better, believe it or not. So, these are also, when they're finished, they're going to be sewn. So when I do day 3, you will see these will be sewn. And I do like making ephemera. I do like having fun with these things. So I'm just going to stick that there for now. And I did remember my garbage bin. I'm going to take these. I'm going to put them over here. And then I'm going to check. Now the paint is, here, that's a little messy. So here, let me get another wipe. Bring this a little bit closer. Yeah, I thought I did a better job. I didn't think I had a bleb, but I do. That's all right. And we'll take that one off. There you go, because it's pretty much dry now. So what I have here, here's the napkin that I just decided to put on the inside. And the reason I chose this one, I had actually several, but I did the choosing process off camera earlier so that we wouldn't have to waste the time doing that. So it's Paris, it's brown already, it's kind of a oatmeal-y color, I think, I don't know. But again, I want to make sure before I do it that I have it going the right way, because I'm going to tell you how I'm going to address that, and it really needs to be done. But we'll take care of that. So basically, we're going to line this up, and it's going to be like this on the inside. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is just flip it up. And the one thing you want to do when you're doing the decoupage on something like this, you want to do a thin layer. And the main reason is because I am going to want to have a little help with my vinyl, whatever, brayer, whatever you want to call it, for when you're doing that kind of stuff. Anyway, let's just put this on. And yeah, we're good. We're seeing good. Okay. Let's put this on. And before I put my napkin on, I'm going to check again, because I'm going to tell you, I'm sure we've all done it. I've done it more than I would like to admit to, and more that put things on upside down. Didn't pay attention to how I had my paper. It's moving on me. I hate that. Okay, let me just push it up a little bit. And here we go. It takes a little bit. This is kind of, yeah, let me just get it this way. You want to make sure you really get the ends. And again, even if they do come up and it doesn't quite do what you want, there's always glue. And you can go on top of it. Okay, so again, I'm just going to cover this up for the moment like that. Grab another wipe. I do go through these. That's why I try to get them as cheap as I can. So that, here, let me just wrap this in that. And then we're going to take this, and I want it to start like this and here. And then I'm just going to smooth, you know, because what I want to do is I don't want to have wrinkles if I can help it. if you do it gently, don't get this too wet. You can get it on fairly smooth. I'm sure some people will probably do a better job of getting this on smooth than I am. And as you can see, I did such a good job of putting it on thin that some of it's already dried in that just little bit. And it's warm here too. I have the sliding glass doors open while I'm working. It was cold this morning. Oh my gosh. I don't know what it was, but I had to put on my sweatshirt. There. Now we're going to turn it over. I am going to cut it down. Now this is not the end of the cutting or trimming. Just want to get it. So, can you see what I'm doing? Yeah. I've always had such a hard time keeping this in frame. So before I was saying that sometimes I end up talking really fast because honestly the thoughts in my head are going that fast. Sometimes I feel like I'm speaking one of the, you know how they slow down sometimes to get weird, scary sounding. Well, that's how I feel when I slow down my speech in my head. And sometimes I forget because, like I said, I'm thinking so far ahead. It drives me crazy. But it's been a whole life like that. I mean, when I was a kid, they would always pick on me for talking too fast. I shouldn't say pick on me, but, you know, always telling me to slow down. Let's see. And I can't believe that the cat, Sophie, isn't... Usually when I'm crafting, she tries to get into everything I'm doing. It drives me nuts. But tonight she must be out on the deck enjoying the cooler air. Okay. Now, that's not going to suffice, of course, but it's on. And now we're going to take and put another layer of the Mod Podge, but a light layer. Because as you can see, it's not quite, but when I do this, it's going to help take care of that. And I should have done, okay. We're gonna be all right. And again, you're going to put a light layer. You're not gonna try and get it too wet. And you wanna go, again, it's going to wrinkle, but it could be a lot worse if you put. And what's going to really be nice is when this dries, again, it's going to help make it so pliable. And it's almost going to feel like fabric. That's the part that I just find amazing. So, here we go. And then while this is drying, we'll work on the other pieces. I think I'm going to have to get myself some kind of timer so that I'll have it go off after 40 minutes and give myself like a 5-minute thing to finish up whatever we're doing. because I do think that an hour is way too long. I get antsy. Okay, so we're gonna let this, I think it looks pretty good. We're gonna let it, and I did do it the proper side. I'm gonna let that dry. We're gonna clean up my mat. Now the other thing is, just as a tip, I always wipe this down, and if I feel like I need to do more, I'll take it to the sink later. There we go. And I want to put it here. I've got another one. Here, let me just plop that there for the moment, because I was going to do something with it. And it's amazing. I don't think I did it last time. I said I always do. Well, I don't always do. But I try to do it enough so that you don't get all this foolishness. It does help. But then again, I'm not the only one that uses it, so somebody else might have used it and didn't do that. But that's okay, because I'm doing it now, right? So we're going to clean this off. And it's amazing how much stuff comes up, and I'm cleaning it. I do this all the time, but it is what it is, right? So these here, I'm gonna get rid of. I'm gonna just throw them out. That's why I have that container there. And I'm just gonna take and wrap this in. The idea is to keep this moist so that when I'm finished with all the crafting here that we're doing, when you're crafting with me, when we finish, I will be able to clean them up properly. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to try, I hope I didn't get into it. Yeah, okay, here we are. Now, I'm going to let this dry a little bit. I don't want to put it down. So, here, let me just put this down for a moment. This will work. Here we go. We'll open up so I can work on a dry area. Anyway, what I want to do is I want to start decorating these a little bit more than what I have here. So, here, where do we want to take this? What I'm thinking I want to do actually for these, I have Tim Holtz's Small Talk, and this is my favorite one. It's snarky, and this one is just the straight Small Talk. So I'm going to go with the snarky, and we're going to just see what we can put here. Oh, this is fun. So on this one, I'm going to pull up right off the bat. Here. Oh, goodness, here we go. I'm Fabulous. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put that over here. And as you can see, it's white, so we don't quite want to, we want to tone that down a little bit. And I may have toned it down a little too much, but you know what? That's fine. So we're going to put that there. Now, sometimes even with the with my journaling tags, I do like to put a hole into them. And again, I don't always measure, but what I will do is we'll just kind of eyeball it. And I think that's pretty good, for me anyway. And then I'm going to take, and this is something that I kind of have together, and it's in a little box that I keep when I'm journaling, when I'm doing these things. But what I like to do is pre-do these, you know, the little reinforcements and so forth, and then just have different things in there that I don't have to keep pulling in and out. And I'll tell you one of my other things, because I mentioned to you that I do like to do the swaps. A lot of times we get, the way people will put in, I do it, we put in extras. You might put in a sampling of some beads or something, like somebody did this one here. Oh, where am I? Okay. And she just cut off a piece and then gave a few of the bead flatbacks. So I like to put those into a little plastic bag, and then I put them in this little metal lunchbox that I got at the Goodwill for a couple of bucks, and it was brand new, Aladdin, and I use it to hold those things. And right now it's a mess, it's out of hand. Now, the other thing is, what I do is I buy the seam binding. Oh God, I don't know how many yards are on it, but it's like $16. I think it's called Snug Hug or Hug Snug, something like that. Snug Hug. And I just chop off a couple of yards, and then I dye them, and they do well. These are all with Tim Holtz's sprays, and then when on my mixed media glass thing, mat, I will put the inks down on it, add some water, and then run these through it. It's very messy, and everybody laughs at me, but that's okay. My fingers get messy. I could use gloves, but you know what? It's not fun using the gloves. So we're just going to cut these, and I'm just going to stick it in here. And then for a mini album, well, this one won't be too mini, but regardless, you know, you can make them smaller. I like to make them a little bit bigger because, like I said, I like to put them in the tucks and so forth. But isn't that cute? And I'm going to sew around it when we're done. I could put some bling on there, but I don't want to put it anywhere near where I'm going to sew. So I think we're just going to take and see where this is. I think we'll just put that across there. And the other thing is, sometimes you want to try and make these as flat, because sometimes you can really get your journals bulky and make a mess of, you know, I won't say make a mess, but I started to, but not really make a mess. It's just that you're really, you don't want to, here, I'm just going to put a little bit extra down these. Even though this seems pretty strong, it doesn't hurt to have a little art glitter glue. And the other thing I'm going to mention to you too is, if you do use the art glitter glue, just remember that if between you and where the art glitter glue is going to be delivered from where it's sent, when the weather starts getting colder, they're not going to send it to you. And if they do, you run the risk of it getting gloppy and not working well, and you won't be happy. So we just ordered, I've got enough now to get me through till May, April or May. We ordered a big one. So here we go. How does that look? Great. And then, like I said, I'll do the sewing so that in video number 3, I can show you the ones that I sewed and how they came, and then we'll work on something else that day. So here we go. We'll put a hole in this one. Here we go. Put these on. Oop, just dropped them on the floor. I have others to pick. I can't believe it. I'm not going to go hunting. I can probably get them, but it'll just be, let's use pink on this one. Because then I'll probably really shake everything and make everybody sick. There we go. here's Sophie. Actually, I think she heard my daughter come home. So now she's come out from wherever she was hiding. So on this one, maybe we'll just put, oh, here, I'll tell you what we're going to do. This one only, this is not a strip. This one is the individuals. And what I think I want to do is I'm just going to put one here. And I'm going to put one there, of the white ones, and I think that'll look so nice. Let's put this one. And a trick that I do is my little pin that I use. Except I turned it. That figures, right? Right when I'm going to show you something. There, let's see if I can do it right the next time. And then we're just going to use a little bit smaller one. Oh goodness, that looks like some hair. My hair is short too. There we go. And we'll just put that little one there. There you go. It's a little bit more glue than I need, but it'll dry clear. I think I like that. I don't think I need to do any more with that. And here, let me get this. We will wipe this off. Even though it's going back in, what I find is if I keep wiping these things off, I have a better chance of them not clogging so much. Okay, so let's put a little snarky something on this one. Okay. Let me see, what shall I put on here? Oh, here. I like this, and this is cute. It's a beautiful day to leave me alone. Oh, I think it's too long. And now I see where it says imagine. So, okay, I'll put that back there. Let me see. Maybe I'll have to get one from the other one that's not so snarky. Yeah, these are kind of long. Oh, here, this will work. And we're just going to cut off a little bit of it to make it work. I think this is cute because it's called, I do this thing called What I Want. I like that. And I think that works well with this. However, again, but let me see if I can just ink it a little less than I did before. And many times when I'm doing this with them, even putting these on, I'll put on the extra glue, and I did not do it this time. And you see why? Even with all the gluing that we do, and one of the things that with the, even with the stick glue, especially the stick glue, this, especially if I'm going to be sewing things, I find it's more of a tacking it down than anything else until you can, but this will work. This will, because I'm not going to sew on these until they're dry, but again, I will be going right around, and I will even be going, I'll be doing it from here, 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 and I will stop at the ribbon, so I won't be sewing across the ribbon. I could, but I probably won't. So now we have two. And here's number 3. And let me see if these will line up well. That'll be fine. This is the one I would be more concerned about. And where did I just have my hole punch? Okay, so we have these lined up together. And I think we're good. And we'll put on, didn't line that up too well, but it's okay. And you know, you can do these in any color. They're so much fun. But I do like the fact that I have these that I'm going to have ready before long for journaling cards. Most of the journaling cards I do are they're much smaller. They're more a little bit bigger than the maybe two, like was it 2.5 by 3.5 are the ATCs, and these are usually the journaling cards usually end up being like 3 by 4s. So these are a little bit bigger, but I kind of like it. And let's use this one this time. And these little spools that you see here, these are actually came from one of the downloads that I paid for from Genevieve Design. It's part of one of the journals, her downloads. Anyway, it's a spool. And what I did is I just traced a whole bunch of them, and then I took and I put them in a laminating pouch. And I use them for washi tape samples and to be sturdy when I have wrap my ribbons or these things around them, my seam binding. There we go. This is what happens when you get old. I always laugh. I was never really had good what I would call athletic dexterity or athletic ability or even good balance or whatever, even as a kid. So it's nothing new. Oh, that one didn't go through, so we'll just put it through. There we go. Yeah. Oh, I like that a lot. They're really coming out nice. You know, when you're first doing these collages and so forth, just remember that they may not always look super great. But now these are some here, also some snarky things that I did with, who was it? Jane Davenport. I love her. She has a great sense of humor. She's another one I like to watch. Anyway, I'm not putting that on there. Not those. I didn't want that here. I want to get something. Some of these are almost mean to even to put on these pretty things. Oh, here, this one I'll put on there. Actually, I have a couple of girlfriends that I think I'm going to be making some journals for, and they have married kids like I do, and still some teenagers at home and so forth. And this one is one of my favorites. Ask my kids, they know everything. And that will fit in there just nice like that. We'll glue it on. Yep. I have one more thing I want to do with that collage that I'm going to be using for a journal cover. So I'm hoping that I can get that to be dry enough. If it isn't, we'll end the video and we'll pick it up video number 3 with that one. So here we go. And I think the pink one would look nice with this. Maybe it's too much pink. Let's pull out the green. I think I have a blue one somewhere in there. The other thing I want to do is, you know, I have some of those teas that have like, what are they, apple cinnamon, the caramel one. There's also some with raspberry tea, blackberry tea. I think I'd like to do some of them up and throw some of these, a couple of yards of each in those and see how they come. Oh, I'll see how that picks up pulls out the green more. I love that. Okay, so what shall we add to that to make that a little something extra? Yeah, I didn't put any bling on this. I think this one I want to wait because I might want to do something along the side, but I'd rather have it stitched first. And if I do decide, I might even put a piece of lace in here. And if I do, I'll be sewing that in. Oh goodness, I had something on hold and it, come on, hold. Oh, you don't want to hear it there. It's a new Netflix thing called Criminal. Takes place in the UK, which is mostly what I watch. Anyway, it takes place in their interrogation rooms, and it's cool the way they get everybody to finally confess when they almost have you convinced they didn't do it. Love that stuff. So what shall we put there? I also pulled out some Tim Holtz. As you can tell, I'm a big Tim Holtz fan. And I love to do the grunge and the steampunk. In fact, probably when I get back from my trip, I'll probably be doing some steampunk ephemera. Let's see how that will look on there. Oh, I like that. Even though it's a little bit more purpley blue, it's kind of pretty. And we'll ink it up a little bit. And here you go. You guys are going to think I'm crazy. It's midnight, and I'm wide awake. That's why I started this around, I don't know what time it was. But it was after I was, tonight was I'm a big NASCAR fan, so we had on the Xfinity race. And Christopher Bell, I don't know if any of you watched, but Christopher Bell won it tonight. And he was pretty stout. He won, they have it broken into stages. He won the first stage, second stage. I think he led all but 10 or 12 laps. And he's like, I don't know, 19, 20, 21. He looks like a baby to me. But anyway. So let's do something not, I think I did in that thing here. I did I'm just going to put a small one that's not snarky on that. She's too sweet to have something snarky on her to be labeled. Be in love with your life. I like that. We're going to put that across the bottom here. I'm going to stick a little extra glue. And then when this one is done, I think I'm going to take and what did I do with there's the other pieces that were going to be tags. I think I'm going to call it a night. I'm not tired, but I need to try and wind myself down a little bit so I can go to sleep. So that's the last one. I really think they're cute. I really like the way they came out. Like I said, when you first start doing the collages, they don't look like much. But once you get them cut up into what you want to do with them, I think they look pretty cool. The same thing with these tags here. Now, they're not done by any means because we did the collage part. But don't they look cool? And you know what? You can turn, because they have the manila on the back, and we haven't decided how we want to have the orientation, these can be turned around. So this one now is right side up. But I can turn, you can do them either way, whichever way you want, even if you decide you want it to go this way. So, and this one I think we'll have to do, okay, I kind of predetermined that one. And this one, this one's predetermined too. But look how great they look compared to when we were putting them together. I really like them a lot. These we will work on next time. I'll show you how I finish them off when I have stitched around the cards that we're going to use for journaling. And let me just see. This is still too damp to play with for what I wanted to do, because what I wanted to do now, after that, is what I want to do is I want to take and I want to decoupage this. This is still too tacky. So in our next session, what I'll do is I will decoupage this side. I'll put either the gel medium or this. I haven't decided which I want to use yet. And we'll put that on here. And then that will determine, show you how, because what happens is when you fold it over, see how it, so what I might want to do is actually, instead of going that way with it, I might want to do it this way, huh? We might want to make this go this way instead, and then it won't be going against it. Do you understand what I mean? If I go this way, I'm going to be kind of pulling it apart. If I go this way, it's kind of pushing in on it, so it won't. So maybe we'll do it this way. So we'll put the Paris on the outside. Just do it opposite of what and this happens. You think you're going to have it, but then when you finally get it done, you see that it may not work that way. But what I want to seal this so that it does stay together well is I will put the medium on top of it when this side is dry enough that it won't stick to anything and mess it up. Okay, and this way we'll let that dry overnight, because I did have the paint that was wet under it, and then I put the Mod Podge on. So I want to thank you for joining me for crafting with me, and hopefully you'll be back for number 3. Thank you. Good night.